Well, the former governor of Ohio, John Kasich, said he is deeply worried that America is so divided we could be facing a civil war. The Republican shared his concerns on MSNBC, stating many Americans can't wait for Donald Trump to go to jail, while others are so angry at the two-tier justice system that doesn't work in America, and nobody's listening to anybody else anymore. They're just growing more angry. Then Kasich pointed to America's greater need at this crucial time.
I think we need some sort of a spiritual revival in this country. I don't know what's going to get people out of their silos, and I don't know what's going to quell the anger, which is now turning into hatred, one side against the other.
Kasich concluded he worries for America's children and the nation they will inherit. Let's talk with the Mass Exodus Movement founder and host of the Quisha King podcast. Quisha, welcome back to Victory News.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay, Governor Kasich also said we live in a world today filled with anger and hatred and glee at somebody else's misfortune or bitterness at what the other side thinks. So, Quisha, is spiritual revival in this nation the only way to break through this political anger and divisiveness?
I truly believe that that is the case. You know, when any country abandons God, especially the United States, where God has had his mighty hand over our nation for so long, and we have just time after time, decade after decade, moved further and further away from God. I don't see how this gets any better unless we return back to God, and then he will heal our land. So yes, we need a revival, and we need to see more people begin to depend on him and lean on him, whose unchanging hand will never leave or forsake us.
That's exactly right. And that's why we have so many shootings. We had another horrible killing in Florida, which we all condemn those. Many critics immediately went after the Second Amendment. But I want you to listen to Jacksonville's Florida sheriff's assessment of the crime.
The story is always about guns. The people are bad. This guy's a bad guy. If I could take my gun off right now and I lay it on this counter, nothing will happen. It'll sit there. But as soon as a wicked person grabs a hold of that handgun and starts shooting people with it, there's the problem. The problem is the individual.
So, Quisha, no mainstream corporate liberal news network went with the sheriff's comments in any way. Why do you think that is?
Unfortunately, it's because they race to make this a political thing. They see an opportunity and they say, let's go ahead and try to push an agenda. And unfortunately, they are trying to come after our guns just like they do pretty much each and every time we see a tragedy happen that involves a gun violence. We all know that guns do not kill people, but wicked, evil people kill people, like Sheriff T.K. Waters said.
Okay, I want to ask you now about Florida Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich. He told Mark Levin why the constant legal attacks on former President Donald Trump are not having the outcome that the Democrats want. Here it is.
I think many people who may or may not like Trump's personality, but they look at this and they think, here are my choices. I'm going to side with a totally corrupt administration, or I'm going to side with a guy who has the guts to stand there and take the beating and keep coming.
So here's the question. If Donald Trump had retired from politics, was not running in 2024, would he have still faced all these indictments and charges?
You know, I'm not sure if he would have, but this I do know. I truly believe that the Democrats are going after Trump so hard because they want him to win the nomination, and they think that he is the easier candidate to beat, to go against Joe Biden. They say it themselves. They're on MSNBC and CNN and all of their media saying that very thing. And I think we need to take them serious at their word. We saw them, however they won in 2020. Joe Biden is in the White House, and I think we need to choose wisely who we nominate for this 2024 election. As you well know, I am supporting Governor DeSantis. I think he can win the general election, and I think he will be a formidable candidate for Joe Biden and for the Democrats. I don't think that their tactics will work like they do with President Trump.
Okay, let me ask you about White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre was asked about public school test scores being at their lowest levels in decades under Biden. Here was her response.
There's going to be a lot of more work to do, right? That is understandable. That the work doesn't end didn't end when the president was able to open up schools, as I mentioned at the top.
Quisha, should there not have been some effort already to turn children's learning and scores around?
Well, their focus is on gender ideology. Their focus is on critical race theory. So I would bet that this is going exactly how they want it to go. They have no concern or intention of getting children better educated. They are doing exactly what they want to do, and that is teaching critical race theory and gender ideology.
And that's why there's so many families right now looking for alternative ways to get their children out of public school. Quisha, thank you so much. Back to you in just a moment. Mike?
Greg, the Heritage Foundation recently obtained emails that establish multiple occasions when the Department of Justice intervened on U.S. Attorney David Weiss' behalf regarding the Hunter Biden investigation. The revelation has raised questions about Weiss and the DOJ conspiring to mislead Congress. The never-before-seen emails that were turned over to the Heritage Foundation from FOIA request established that the two offices collaborated in responding to congressional inquiries. The emails highlight letters directed to Weiss from Senators Chuck Grassley of Iowa and Ron Johnson of Wisconsin. The DOJ's Office of Legislative Affairs notified Weiss they would take the lead and respond. Mike Howell, director of Heritage Foundation's Oversight Project, told The Federalist that while Attorney General Merrick Garland claimed Weiss was independent to bring charges, Garland was simultaneously supplying communications from Weiss to the senators. Howell told The Federalist, quote, "The only reason these documents are starting to trickle out is because we sued for transparency." He added they had experienced taxpayer-funded resistance with every step. It was probably not what Fulton County DA Fani Willis expected, but the release of Donald Trump's mugshot after his arrest on Thursday has resulted in a reported $7.1 million of fundraising. The former president turned himself in on Thursday after a 41-count indictment by Willis the previous week. Despite three other previous indictments related to the classified documents, January 6th, and alleged hush money, this is the first mugshot for Trump and first ever for a former president. Since the recent string of indictments of Trump over the last 3 weeks, his presidential campaign has reportedly raised close to $20 million. Tim.
The only way to contentment and peaceful happiness is found through the Prince of Peace himself, the one who brings reconciliation between the people. There's a number on the screen right now. You can call. Licensed prayer minister will minister to you. 877-281-6297. Our thanks to Quisha King, especially you. Thanks for joining us.